Hello, everybody, and welcome back to GameDay Squad's Aussie Rules live show. Bales has just found out the GDS Cup, or the Classic Cup, is about to kick off. He's getting ready and excited for it, but we are here today to preview the round that is about to be. We're going to be putting a focus on this Classic Cup, and for all of our new coaches doing Contender, we have a couple of people like Auntie Booger and Melissa here in the chat already. If you do have questions, please drop them. We'll be answering as we go on through this live stream. But I'll tell you what, I'm so pumped. I'm super excited. For anyone that knows me, I'm a Swannies fan, and there was some massive, massive news that got dropped. So, look, without further ado, let's get right into this installment. What we're going to be doing, looking at all the news that has dropped in terms of the different teams, players that are in and out. Then I'm going to take you through my contender squad, which I've ranked in order from 1 through to 10 per position. So you can have a look at who I think is going to be playing well, who's not, all the good stuff. Bales will be jumping in here and there. And then we're going to show off our squads as a whole. So Bales will go. He'll show who he's starting. And Melissa, yes, Bales loves to be a little AFK at the start, but that's okay because it gets me warm, gets me moving. I can't wait. And ST, you're pretty bang on the money here. Errol Goulden, he's back, mate. That's why I'm so pumped. I'm so excited for this episode. But look, speaking of Errol Goulden, the great man is here to join us again. It is Bales, mate. Bales, how you going?
Yeah, good. Far out. I thought I was going to get here in time, but no.
It's okay, mate.
Just
told
busy.
Everyone you're getting your Classic squad ready because you heard the Classic Cup is kicking off this round. So,
yes, very excited for the Classic Cup starting this week. So obviously we'll look at our Classic teams later on. But yeah, busy day. Of course, having pets and everything like that, you got to feed them and whatever, obviously. Yep. But when it cuts into having to jump on GameDay Squad shows, it's frustrating that you have to do that. But it is what it is. But we're here, so let's get stuck into it.
Let's do it, mate. So I've already told everyone what the go is. Let's get right into the first game. We've got tonight, in just over an hour from now, Freo versus Essendon. Todd Goldstein out for Essendon. So they're already pretty thin in the ruck department. They're going to be even thinner. I guess on the other side is Sean Darcy is being managed as well. This could be a huge Luke Jackson game. James Aish comes back in. Nathan O'Driscoll as well for the Dockers. Let's get into Friday night. We have what could be game of the round, in my opinion. The Geelong Cats versus the Brisbane Lions. This is going to be good. It's at the Catters' home, though. It's a fortress down there. I don't know if I can, in terms of result, I'm not sure what we'll see. But Sam De Koning injured, Oliver Henry in due to that. Darcy Gardner in, Will McLaughlin in as well, but Jack Payne and Callum Archie sitting out. So nothing too significant in terms of roles and changes there. The next one, we've got Carlton versus North Melbourne. For North, Charlie Comben comes in, Dawson out, Pitton in for Carlton, and Hudson O'Keefe out with an injury. That wraps up all the news there.
Beautiful.
The next game, I'm dreading. Well, actually, I'm not because Goulden's back, but I'm dreading because of who we're versing. It's Port Adelaide versus my Sydney Swans. The big news, we've spoken about it. Errol Goulden back, one of the best performers in all of fantasy last year.
Your
He's
boy.
not back. My boy. My glorious king, as I would say. He's there. Tommy Papley in as well. Big in. Matty Roberts in. Joel Amadi in. So some massive ins for the Swans. On the flip side, Lockie Jones is in for Port, but other than that, there's not too much there. Alira Lee out, Ollie Wine's out though, which is some really good players for Port. Next game is the Pies versus the Saints. Lipinski in, Hayes out, and then Mateus Philippou comes back in, mate. I just want to see him string a couple games together, Bales, get it going because, before the season started, he was one of the more sought-after forwards in GameDay Squad, and he just hasn't got it going yet, mate. I'm sure you're excited to see him back, but maybe not rushing to it.
Sorry, I just zoned out then. Who's the player we're talking about? Sorry.
Mateus Philippou.
Mateus Philippou, yeah. I don't know if St Kilda are going to give him the keys, who plays for the Crows. I don't know if they're going to give him the license in the midfield just with all the injuries he's had this year. So I think until we see him play in the midfield and have a good role, I'm probably not looking at him for my game day squad.
Fair enough.
Still someone, though, that this is a perfect time to use the game day squad transfer market, pick a couple of Mateus Philippous up because dynasty asset will be pretty handy in the future and will probably stay as a forward based on what his role's in. So could be a handy play next year and from then on. So maybe that could be your chance to get some cheap Philippous.
Absolutely. Mate, let's go to the next game. We got the Giants versus the Suns. The Giants have a ton of ins here. I'll quickly go through. Toby Green, Jake Stringer, Angwin, Ware, and Leake. On the other side for the Suns, Lockie Weller comes in, Davies in, Reed, Buderick, and Farah also coming in. In terms of outs, nothing too significant. Brent Daniels out for the Giants, but man, he's been a little disappointing this season. The last game, going to finish off with a fantasy banger. Western Bulldogs versus the Richmond Tigers. Normally, this probably isn't the one you'd be wanting to stay up for on a Sunday, but I can't wait for this. I got plenty of players. I'll get into it a little later, but nothing too significant. Harms in for the Bulldogs, Caulfield and Bussinger, and then Blight, Trezzy, Lafayette, and Algier for the Tigers. Bales. That wraps us up pretty well, mate. That's all our news. It's everyone in and out. And then, of course, the buys, Crows, Hawks, the Demons, and West Coast. Don't be starting any of them this round. Sub them out.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Bales. You know what time it's for. It's time for my ranking. So feel free to hop in as you please, whether you agree, disagree. That is completely up to you. But before we do, we have some questions on the Discord, Bales. I asked everyone to drop any questions they wanted answered. So as we go along, we'll answer some of these, but we'll name them out. Classic Cup strategies. People want to know where to spend their salary cap for particular cards. So that's one there. Which Bulldogs mids to play? I'll get into that in the mid section, but I have one in particular I'll be targeting. But look, it's not going to be a bad shout to be starting more than one. Cal says, if Goulden's so good, why don't you play him more often? It's like you being so good at classic fantasy, but not on the show more often, mate. It is what it is. And that's probably about it in terms of actual fantasy questions. Let's get into it. Here's pull up the rankings. Bales, here's my defenders. What's the thoughts?
Well, I'm seeing
any surprises?
I don't see all the ranks. I see. Oh, you've just put a photo of
one,
the top
2,
set.
3,
yeah, okay, sorry.
4,
Just
5, 6, 7, and then this is how I'm going to do it from now. Just be a bit more interactive.
It just completely threw me. Look at that. I was like, hang on, if you accidentally put the photos there. So what do you got? So what? Nasiah, Holmes, Dale, Zorko, Ash, Sinclair, Whitfield. probably the only thing I'd change. I like those. I think those 7 are probably the ones there. I'd probably have Whitfield over Ash, just because last week we saw Whitfield back at halfback.
Yes.
Up against Gold Coast this week, he took like 12 kick-ins. And I think that tips the scale more for Whitfield being in the top rather than Ash. But hey, they're pretty much like both really good options there. I've got Sheasel in this week in my squad.
Okay.
So I'm missing someone in my squad this week. Actually, I think I've got Holmes out this week just with the matchup in my squad, which we'll go into later. I got Sheasel in instead of him. I got Whitfield over Ash. But hey, those defenders, especially like the top 9, are very close. And like you could pick 7 of those 9 and leave out 2 unlucky ones, and you're probably looking all right. And Jordan Clark's the pod this week against the Bombers tonight. It's a little bit wet, so maybe I wouldn't do it this week, but he's someone that you could consider.
Absolutely. So in order, Nazar Wanganeen Miller, just absolute jet. Max Holmes, I'm not too concerned. Last time he played the Lions this season, I think they played him round 3. It might have been Bales. He had 141 fantasy points. He's playing pretty good. I just think that he pushes back so deep that he doesn't really get followed when it comes to kick-ins and stuff, and he's going to get a lot of easy possessions, at least in that section of the field. When they start pushing a bit more towards the middle and forward line, I definitely see some attention going his way. Bailey Dale is going to be nuclear, in my opinion. He's probably one of the players that in the Classic Cup, you're going to want to put salary on, because not only, like the others, are they pretty safe, but his upside is just so massive, and he's off a really good run of games. Like, let's read out his last 4. We go 191, 82, 134, 152. So I know there's an outlier there in 82, but if you look at the rest, it's about an average of 160 points between those 3 games. He is going nuts. He's easily getting 20 kicks a game at the moment. His role's perfect. Their midfield's back. He's just doing his thing, playing his best footy, and one of the best matchups in all of fantasy in the Richmond Tigers coming out of that defense, especially someone like him who pushes a little higher and can get dangerous. Wow, it's a good round to put some salary cap on Bailey Dale.
Yeah, exactly.
Keen to see your squad later. Hopefully. Maybe you have. But this, what you're seeing now, is my contender squad. I'll get into my classic squad a little later. Zorko safe. Lockie Ash. I know what you're saying. Whitfield's back, but even still, his run of games has just been fantastic. We got 137, 130, 138, 138, 134. All back to back to back. So honestly, I'm not too concerned about Lockie Ash. Whitfield is a great player to come in because of the kick-ins. I guess there's a little more upside there. But rounding it off, Jackie Sinclair, Nick Martin. Look, Nick Martin doesn't have the greatest matchup, and I was a little almost wanting to put Whitfield in, but him not getting subbed off and just how well he's been playing. Am I crazy? Should I be subbing out Nick Martin because of the matchup? Or is it actually okay to ride Nick Martin tonight, especially maybe even considering the conditions? I'd love to know what you are doing in the chat. People that just got faded, Whitfield, only because of a little concern with the role. Clark is the big pot of the round. If you don't want to do what everyone else is doing and you want to go a little different, Clark could be an awesome player to put the salary cap on. And Harry Sheasel, I just have a little concerns with him playing a little higher up the ground, more forward. Not sure how much upside he has in that role. And last week was pretty daunting, other than probably a really good third quarter and fourth that sort of saved his round. And yes, he got to 151 fantasy points. It was fantastic. But before that, I'm not even at 50 for halftime. So yeah, he has those moments where he can streak, but they're going to be more on the cautious side and try to go elsewhere in terms of the players that I'm starting. I think Bales is just having some technical difficulties, so he'll be back in a second. I'll move it along to my midfielders. To answer one of the questions from the Discord, which Bulldogs player should I be starting and potentially putting salary cap on as well? This will be a 2-1. It's Ed Richards. Ed Richards is the ball magnet in that midfield. Libba and Bont are very dynamic players as well, but when it comes to purely getting disposals, hands on the footy, and scoring big, I think Ed Richards is the person that has the most upside, in my opinion. He'll get forward as well. There's a chance for him to kick a sneaky goal. He's on a streak of kicking a goal in the last, 7 games, sort of back-to-back rounds. So he's just doing a little bit of everything. He's winning the ball really great. And for me, he's probably someone you're going to want to put salary cap on. I've got both the Freo boys. A little nervous in terms of weather, but in terms of the matchup, it is one of the best matchups that you can have. So the numbers are telling me to start them both and to not be too worried. But I'll tell you what, I think I'm just going to have to trust in the boys, trust in a really good matchup, and get them out in my squad. Bales is back. Bales, what are you thinking of my starting mids so far? I've sort of gone through the top five there.
There's one name that you don't have that I think is going to return to prominence this week as much as I disliked him last week. Marcus Bontempelli. I think he's someone that is going to go big. I know he had such a poor game last week, and it was horrible to watch as someone that selected him. Thankfully, I didn't put extra salary on him because I heard that. I heard that pre-game that he was going to get tags, but I was like, Bont, regardless, can probably still go big, so I'll keep him in the squad. Unfortunately, didn't pay off, but I think he returns this week. We do see a lot of players get tagged. They come back next week and actually go really well. So I'm banking on a bounce back from Bont. He's too great a player to have such a poor game like that and then have another one. So he's there. I do like Rosie. You know me, I'm a huge fan of Jai Caldwell. I've been big on him for a few weeks now, and I think he's almost a lineup lock. I think every week. Caleb Sarong and Andrew Brace, I think both go well tonight. So, and then the bottom four there: Hewitt, Libba, Dacos probably someone I'd fade this week because the Windhager tag. I like McCluggage, but I want to hear. Did you talk about your boy Goulden? Because could we play him first up?
I haven't yet. Now, look, I'm going to take off my Swans goggles here. It's very hard to do so because they're pretty much on all the time. If you want to play safer, I'd actually play Hewitt. Hewitt without Walsh in the team at the moment. His CBAs went up last round. He's going to be in the middle. Yes, he can be a handball merchant, but he's going to get 30 disposals. He's going to have a good game for Carlton. So if you want to play a little on the safe side, let's call it, and maybe not go that boom and bust, George Hewitt will be your perfect mid-6, but I'm not here for this. Errol Goulden, I've seen too much, and I know he's coming back off an injury, and this is a player that really relies on time on ground and his fitness and his skills to sort of take him to the next level for fantasy. But I just think he's going to be ready to go. I don't think they're going to bring him back unless he's going to be ready to impact from day dot. I do see him being on the wing, but that's where he spent most of his time from last year anyway. He plays his best footy there, and he's going to have that role where he can just push up and back down the ground and just be dominant. So I'm going for the upside because he is so good at kicking the footy, and if he just has about that 20 kicks, I could see this game easily turning into a 120, 140 for him in terms of production. But again, George Hewitt, it was really hard to sub out, but I think my Swans goggles sort of did it, Bales.
Yeah, no, I think so. We'll go in later, but I've currently got McCluggage and then Adam Chera in my squad, but I've been tossing up do I go Sarong over one of those guys and do I go Goulden over one of them? I think it's just, there you go. Bowden Ebery said, where's Chera? I think Chera's a solid option, and I've currently got him there. I think McCluggage, the only thing I'm sort of concerned about is that Geelong have been running two taggers for a few weeks, and I think Neil gets one of them, but you'd probably say McCluggage gets the other. And McCluggage had a really big game against Geelong last time they played earlier in the season in that monsoon game, the one with it got pushed back because of the bad weather, but then it got even more bad weather on that game. But McCluggage ended up scoring. I'm just having a look here. So in round 3 against Geelong, he had 30 disposals, 17 kicks, 4 marks, 8 tackles, and had 146. So you think that does Geelong put more attention into him? So even while I'm thinking about now, I'm probably thinking I might go like an Errol Goulden and a Caleb Sarong over Chera and that just for the upside of their matchups.
There we have it. But look, Chera's a great shout. I personally, if I'm going Chera or Hewitt, I'm probably going Hewitt just because he's going to be on ball a little more and he's sort of become that second midfielder for them after Cripps. Cripps seems to be leading in terms of CBA percentage, but Hewitt is just behind him, and especially now with Walsh out, they need those both of those players even more. So just roll for me, but Chera's not a bad shout. He gets his boot to the ball. He can push forward, kick goals as well, and he really played fantastic, Bales, with Walsh out last round. Did you have Chera in?
What, last week or this week?
Last round.
Chair I had in one of my squads because I've only got the one
Okay,
bronze, so I think
beautiful.
did I have him in starter maybe, but he was pretty good. I was happy with the score, and I think he goes all right again against North. But yeah, there's a few good mids that have got some good matchups this week, so it's an
It's a
interesting week.
tough round in particular, for sure. And especially with the likes of sort of Dawson out, which is probably someone that would normally feature in our midfields. We sort of have to look at a couple of different other players.
What do you
And
think about Trelaw as a bit of a pod this week with the Tigers?
Nakos fade for Jakos. If Nakos gets tagged, surely Jakos goes huge. It's not a bad shout.
Yep.
But I guess just off the back of the conversation we're having now, there's probably more options and players that have upside that I would be looking towards other than Jakos. But you are right. He does have a tendency to play extremely well when Dakos is getting tagged sort of out of it.
Yeah.
Same Bales?
Yeah, Dacos could be a potential. I wouldn't be playing Dacos. No, Nick Dacos had his this week, just with the Windhager tag. But yeah, Trelaw, do you think he could be a pod against Richmond?
No,
No.
I just couldn't get him in, especially like he would be the last of the four midfielders that I would start. I had a thought into this. Mine's Ed Richards, Libba, Bont, and then I would go Trelaw after that. I honestly think out of all of them, like the upside's there because it's the matchup, but just why wouldn't you go one of their other stud midfielders that have just proven time and time again this year that they can deliver and score well, and all of them are in good form. At least all of the other players we mentioned.
Yeah, I'm thinking about maybe in like starter.
It's a big swing. It's a big swing to take.
I think because I don't have a bronze Richards, I'm actually thinking of starting like a bronze Trelaw in starter. Just obviously starter's the one I'm not sort of up near the top. Classic contender, I'm trying a bit harder in those two. So maybe take a bit of a swing at one of those. That's sort of what I'm potentially thinking about this week.
Yeah, okay. I guess the last thing to summarize it, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, he's had something like 30% CBAs over the past two rounds. It's probably just a little more, like 33%, 35%. But Trelaw, when he had his fantastic year last year, was getting more towards that 70 to 80%. So I just don't see the same upside. It's just unfortunate that Richards and Libba and Bond are playing so good because they actually really haven't needed Trelaw to rush back in and be the same player he was in the last season.
Yep, exactly. Final roughie I'll give you as well is Will Setterfield could be maybe just a roughie tonight if it's meant to be a bit wet.
Tonight.
Tackles, yeah. Bit of a roughie if you want to take a swing.
He has those quarters where he just goes nuts, hey, in terms of fantasy points.
Yeah, exactly.
Can be good to watch. Let's get into rucks. Rucks, I feel like, are really tough to pick this round. And I've made my decision. English Gang is back. Tim English is my number one ranked ruck. If I had more salary cap cards for Big Tingles, I would be using it, but I don't. So I've got a bronze. He's my number one ruck. It's Richmond. It's going to be the last game. And Richmond have been giving up a lot of points to rucks for the season. He's going up against Nank. I think he's just going to have his number in this one. And we've seen Tim English come back into form slowly but surely after last year, just this season now. And I think this will be another step in the right direction for where he's going.
Yep.
Next one's the Big X. He's safe. He's good. And I've taken a different approach in Classic. I think I'm taking a bit more of a swing, and my 3 actually is in 2. But for the contender competition, I just think you want to play a little safe. You want to put your salary cap on players who you think are going to deliver, but then also who are a little safer in terms of they've got a really good floor. They've performed very well over the year. And the Big X is just exactly that. He has big games. He can play really well. And what's going to be a pretty good matchup against TDK. He's already versed TDK this season, and he had his number big time earlier in the year. He dominated TDK in that matchup, and I can't see much of that changing in this one. So if you're thinking, and hence why TDK is not in my top 5, because he's going to have a big day and I think a tough time with the Big X on the weekend.
Yeah, it's. I agree. The only thing I actually will go to our squads after, but I actually currently don't have X this week, which is the first week this year I'm not going to have him in the lineup because I've actually got your boy who's at number 3, who's been in amazing form and has got Port this week. So what do you think about Grundy over X this week for coaches looking to go a little bit different?
Love it. And in Classic, I've done exactly this for the Classic Cup. I have gone Grundy over over the Big X. But as mentioned, Grundy's got more upside. It's a way better matchup. He has had, games this season where he hasn't played good. But look, if you have a look at his recent form, as you just touched on, Bales, it's awesome.
Yeah.
He looks like he's one of the best rucks in the comp. 156, 141, 147, 122, and 132, all in back-to-back rounds. So if that's what we can expect, then this could be one of the... Let's come back to the salary cap question. Should you go a pod play, go Grundy with someone who's in such good form and potentially put some salary cap on him, Bales?
Well, I'm thinking about doing it with English. That's the one. Grundy, I'm probably just happy to have him there, even if he's a pod. I don't know if I'd put salary on him this week. It's a great matchup, but he does have Sweet and Vicentini as the duo, so it's not just Vicentini. Yep. So I think Grundy's is perfectly fine. I'm sort of wondering, like, do I just leave it and just have him as the option, or do I go and put some salary on it? But at the moment, I don't have extra salary on him.
Look, I get the concern, and let's not compare people to Max Gawn, because Max Gawn's on a different planet right now in terms of how good he is. But Max Gawn went up against that exact duo last round and had a 140 still, and he was the best player on the field.
Yeah,
didn't win, but he was the best player. So, but alrighty, let's get into it, Bales. Let's get into some forwards, and this is going to be my rankings, and it's going to be from top to bottom there. Bailey Smith, Kennedy, and Luke Jackson, 1, 2, 3. In my opinion, all
very
locks.
Happy you put Jackson at 3.
I think, and that was before knowing Darcy was getting managed, because he's just unbelievable. He's playing in the midfield anyway, but now that he's going to be the solo ruck, Todd Goldstein is out. He could eat. There could be some serious scoring tonight from Luke Jackson. And I'll pose the question again, Bales. I think this is one of the players you might want to load up on salary cap for, considering all of the circumstances. And if it is a bit wet, that's fine. He's going to be in the middle. It's going to be plenty of hit-outs and potentially tackles as well. Could be a big game from a forward that's going to be playing ruck.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a case to be made. He's someone that I'm even just playing around while we're talking now, and like, do I put the extra salary on him or not? So I've currently got on my class team, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players I've got salary on. Jackson isn't one, but I'm thinking, do I go, because I've got we'll sort of cut forward a tiny bit, but I got all Platts as the 5 salary guys. Yep. I'm wondering, do I go a couple of golds instead and then get some extra salary on the 6th player? Or do I go the 5 and load up on the 5? So that's what I'm tossing up with, but I do like the play of going extra salary on Jackson. I think it could be a pretty good play.
Let's talk about the bottom 3. Brian Myers, I don't think I need to talk too much on. He's fantastic as well. Probably deserves to be in the lock category, honestly, with the form he's in at the moment. Coming off 130, 133, 161, 127. Feel like that almost says enough. And then we get into Sam Darcy. Who would have expected him to come back in his first game, Bales, and just play the way that he played on the weekend? I think he had 3 goals. He cracked the ton mark big time. You can see there. Finished with 137 fantasy points. Oh, yeah, coming off a big knee injury. And, that they can be really tough to come back from, Bales, and he just did it like it was nothing.
Yeah, he's a gun. Like, I know that when Kane Corn said a couple of weeks ago, like, Sam Darcy's best player in the common, I think a few of us were probably just like, oh, he's been out for so long. But playing last week, there's an argument to be made that he's right up there, because he came back as if he missed no time at all and looked great. And now he comes up against Richmond, who, because this is almost the perfect storm in a way. Like, Dogs love scoring fantasy points. Richmond, the easiest team to score on. There's a case to be made that you could almost put 10, 11 Bulldogs in your game day squad this week, because there's so many. And Sam Darcy's at the top of the list as a forward. He's this is because the forward line, we've got 4 guys we're comfortable every week. Like, I guess Baz and Kenny are the locks every week, and then the other guys were sort of like, what are the matchups? But the way that Darcy's gone, this is the type of play you want to get on this week. Like, you want to put at least something of Darcy in your game day squad, and I think he's got to be there just with the matchup. So I've currently got him sitting there pretty comfortably. Yeah, and Jason Horne-Francis had 96 fantasy points at halftime last round. Look, pretty rough second half for him, but it's his first game back. He played a really good chunk of time in the midfield.
was a little worried. Maybe do they go a bit of Rosie in the midfield? But I'm glad that Ken has stuck to what's working for them. Rosie staying on the halfback. Get Horn Francis back in the midfield, and then he's rolling up forward to get dangerous. And he's a really good one-on-one player there as well. Melissa, you were smarter than myself. I have a bit of a rule when it comes with players with injuries. At least I try to follow this rule, although I am a little bit of a hypocrite as I have Goulden in my squad this round. So am I really following it? No, but awesome start. Going Darcy last week. No regrets. Absolutely. And Bowden, I did the same thing as you in this one. I thought if I'm going to play someone back from injury, I went McRae over Darcy because he was going to play in the midfield. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. Not that McRae played really that bad, but 137 compared to 94, bit of a difference, and you definitely take the 137. Auntie Booger, no love for Jezza. I have love for Jezza.
Brisbane's tough matchup.
Lions are normally a pretty tough matchup, although, was it Caddy the other week made Harris Andrews look a little silly, all things considered and being said. But if I actually was to play another Geelong forward, he's sitting there at number 9. Sean Manor is just been sneaky, really good and consistent all season. He's like Brian Myers 2.0. He's the second edition. If something was to ever happen to Myers, they almost have their replacement in Manor ready to go. He's just learning the ropes. He's watching one of the best in the competition of Myers do his thing. But yeah, Manor's really consistent. And if you don't really want to take that high upside play, but you just want to sort of lock someone in for about that 90-point mark, like Manor's probably one of the better players in the competition for it at the moment. He's fantastic.
Yep, agreed. Yeah, he's pretty rare, but if you've got a Manor, I think he's someone that you could plug and play.
Absolutely. Bales, that's enough of me talking. It's enough of me telling me about the rankings. We are going to throw it over to you. But actually, before we do, we have a question. Hey, how do you get this app? Well, there's 2 ways. You can go to the website and go to GameDaySquad.com.au. You can create a free account, and if you use a promo code BalesDT on sign up, you get sent even extra packs on top. I don't have a code, but the great man right below me right there does. So use that one, BalesDT. Or alternatively, go to the App Store or Google Play Store, put in GameDay Squad, and you can download the app and do the exact same thing there. Will, if you do need any help along the journey, our community is awesome. We have a Discord, or just reach out on any of our socials and we can help you start your coaching journey here with GameDay Squad. We'd be more than happy to bring you on board. So let me know if you need any more help, reach out. But Bales is going to take it away now, and he's going to tell us who he's starting and why.
Yeah. Well, I know that I sent you an updated squad while we're recording.
I think I got it in.
Yeah, appreciate you putting up the updated one. But yes, obviously with the defense is normally settled most weeks. So I've probably made the one change going Dale over Max Holmes is probably the main one. But the Saints duo of Nasir and Sinclair, Martin, Sheasel, Zorko, and Lockie Whitfield. The one change I could make is if Zorko, if there's talk of a potential run with roll from like a like a Mullen or someone like that, I may shift Zorko to like a Lockie Ash or a Max Holmes potentially in that same game. But at this stage, he's there just because of how good he is. But that's the only thing I'm looking at. Midfield, Rosie, Caldwell. I did end up changing Sarong over McCluggage, and I have gone for Errol Goulden for a bit of upside because I think regardless of even if he plays limited game time or not, he's still going to play 75, 80%. And an Errol Goulden that plays fantasy, you want a part of that. So I think he's got the upside. So I've gone him. There's a bit of a cheeky pod, and I've loaded up the salary on Brayshaw and Bont, who I think have got great matchups against Essendon for Brayshaw tonight, and then Bont against Richmond. So I've gone for there. Tim English, I think, is, as you say, the number 1 ruck choice this week. So I've gone the salary on him against I think Richmond are the easiest matchup over the last 5 weeks for anyone for rucks. Any position against any team, the number 1 matchup over the last 5 weeks is rucks against Richmond. So I want a part of that. I want some salary on English this week, as you said. What'd you call him before? Tingles or
Tingles, mate. Or just make it easy. Call him the GOAT. He's the GOAT.
So I've gone salary on him. Grundy as well, gone him on the bench there over Cherry, which I I don't know how I feel. I might go Cherry still, but I've gone Grundy there. And then I've gone Baz with the salary. I just think every week I've got to put the salary on Baz. Kennedy, McRae, Myers, Caleb Daniel, Jackson, and I've gone Darcy as well. I did think potentially about Kennedy, Jackson, and Darcy as a bit of extra salary on them. I only went for the other guys because I think Bont, Brayshaw, Whitfield, Baz, and English have all got the highest ceilings out of any of the players there. Like Jackson's got it, and Jackson and Darcy got good ceilings this week, but have they got enough to warrant putting a heap of salary on them? So, yeah, I think that's why I'm going for that, and that's how the squad is lining up for the Classic Cup this week.
Love it, mate. The clear strategy. And for people who asked before where you should be loading up in strategy, Bales has already put thought into that and placed it exactly where he thinks it belongs in Whitfield, Brayshaw, Bont, English, and Smith. Mate, very competitive squad. You've gone McRae as well. You know, we just touched on 95 points. But if that's a bad performance, then I'd love to see a good one. He did play a good chunk of time in the midfield as well. So not too many concerns for me there. I can see why you're going straight back to him. But, mate, I'll stop sharing.
Honestly, I thought about JHF, but I ended up going, well, he's got a bit of a shoulder niggle. Just for the week, I just want to maybe just play a bit safer.
Fair enough, mate.
Well, here we go. He's loaded up on a few players here.
I have taken a little of a different approach. Again, Max Holmes, sort of spoke about him already. I'm not too concerned. He played really good against the Lions last time, although they're traditionally a hard matchup. I think he's going to play good again. Wangani Miller, gold. I've gone Rosie, Sarong, Brayshaw, gold. I've got a silver Caldwell and a silver English. I don't have a higher rarity English. If I did, I'm probably more inclined to go up to a gold for English and maybe downgrade my dry Caldwell. You can see I've got Goulden. I've got Grundy in this one, Bales. Touched on before. In the other competition, I went a little safer with a big X. In this one, I've gone with Grundy. And my forward line stays the exact same. And I've just gone the prize card, Bailey Smith, rather than the gold.
Do you do that every time I jump on? You like clicking on the Baz just to highlight the average, highlight how he's looking. Unbelievable, mate. What's the 1.4? But obviously it's the same as a platinum, but you obviously cost less salary or something. Isn't that right?
Same as a diamond.
Sorry, diamond, but it costs like a platinum or something in the squad, isn't it? Something like that?
I think a gold or something. Yeah, exactly. It's a very nice card to have. And I'll tell you what, last preseason, I was kicking myself. I had a chance to take Errol Goulden and didn't, and thought, what was I doing? But some things happen for a reason. And clearly the fantasy gods looked after me in 2025 with Bailey Smith being a forward and at Geelong. How good. Auntie Booger says, I have all 4 of the Geelong Catters. She's a big Catters fan, mate.
Jesus, it's bold this week against Brisbane. Don't get me wrong, I think they could all have good games.
The teams to play 4 forwards from, Geelong has to be the best one.
Oh, Geelong, yeah.
There's no other team you would look at and think, I'll play 4 players from their forward line. You'd be a little silly.
Agreed. The only other team you'd do potentially this week would be Dogs. You could play Darcy, you could play Kennedy, you could play Riley Sanders, and hang on, Darcy, Kennedy, Sanders, and then maybe like a Norton if you want to go real. But normally you don't. Normally it's like you play 1 or 2 of the Dogs. And obviously Geelong have got Jezza, they got Myers, they got Manor, they got Baz. Obviously, like there's a few guys you could play week to week. So I definitely could see why. I like maybe why I'm not doing so well. Geelong are going very well this year, and yeah, I guess even if your GameDay squad's not going amazing, Geelong are going along very nicely, and I anticipate they're top 2. So, yeah, you can at least enjoy them. And
second place right now, mate. So they're doing pretty bloody good. They're doing something right.
And they've got I think that they play 2 top 8 teams from the run home, and that's Brisbane this week, and then Giants in like a month or so. Outside that, they got Richmond twice, they got West Coast again, they got North again. There's going to be a lot of weeks, I think, where we're going to want 4 Geelong forwards, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree. There are some weeks, but this one, I'm sort of with you, Bales. Maybe not the one for it, but that's going to do us. We've all wrapped up. We're at the end of the show. The Classic Cup starts this round. So if you did get the email throughout the week that you qualified for it, make sure you get your Classic squad in. Of course, you are able to compete in the other competitions as well, but maybe more this round than others. You want to focus on the Classic if you're invited to hopefully smash it rip in. The game tonight's going to be a good one. I'm very nervous, Bales. I don't like to have a lot of players in games on the Thursday night because traditionally, as I've said this before and I'll say it again, it hasn't treated me very well.
How many have you got?
Last week was probably a little of an exception.
How many in total have you got?
I've got Martin, Caldwell,
Yep, same. Yep.
Sarong,
Yep.
Brayshaw,
Yep.
and Luke Jackson.
Yeah, right. So we got
makes it 5.
We got all the same. So yeah, we got the 5. Yeah, Martin, Brayshaw, Caldwell, Sarong, and Jackson.
If you're still here while Bales is talking, how many do you have in the game tonight? We want to know the number.
Yeah, well,
I've got. What did you say, Bales?
I got the 5 as well, but obviously got the extra salary on an Andrew Brayshaw. So yeah, it's going to be a big game tonight. Looking forward to it. It's been. I know that Freo Essendon's probably not the game we want really on a Thursday night, but as fantasy coaches, we're like, hey, we got heaps of players tonight. We don't mind. We'll sit back and we'll enjoy hopefully seeing those fantasy points rolling in on the GameDay Squad app.
That's it. Well, it's 5's almost a little scary because, like, if this doesn't start well, then goodness, it's going to be tough to watch the remainder.
Yeah.
Auntie Booger's got 4. Okay, so we're not the only ones.
I think a lot
when
you look at it, Brayshaw's branching a lot of squads. Jackson's in a lot of squads this week, particularly with the matchup. Caldwell is popular, along with maybe like a Merritt if people want to go there. Sarong will be in a few squads this week, and then who's the other one I'm forgetting? Nick Martin, who's in a lot of squads. So I think a lot of people have got multiple.
Yeah, Auntie Booger, as I said, she said 4. Bowden said, I have 5, but rolled with Bolton instead of Caldwell.
It's spicy.
Interesting. That is spicy. That is spicy. Nathan is going 2 on the field, 2 on the bench. Well, everyone will score, so make sure there's some goodies. But man, I'm excited. Let's do it, Bales. We'll wrap it up, mate. Where can everyone find you and all the great things that you're doing throughout this fantasy season?
Yeah, well, you can find me at Bales DT across socials and us at AFL Fantasy Fans. Obviously, we're live there's content on the channel every day, but we are live for our pods on Sunday after the final game of the round, Tuesday night for our Q&A, and Thursday for our and Friday for our pre-lockout chat ahead of the round. And I'll be doing a watch long tonight. So if anyone's keen to chat some more GameDay Squad, footy in general, anything like that, then head over to the watch long. Starts in about probably 15 minutes or so for watch the game and hopefully see some big scores from some of these players we've got in our GameDay squads. And and if you haven't signed up to GameDay Squad, use the code BalesDT at sign up to get yourself some free packs. Why not? You might as well use the code while you're there. If you haven't signed up yet, get involved. It's good fun.
You couldn't have said it better, mate. Let's do it. Best of luck to everyone for this round, and we'll be back here next week to preview what will be the next round. Hopefully, you can all make it through. For anyone that is in the Classic Cup, for all of our new coaches in Contender, smash it this week, get a great result.